Today we're tackling one of the biggest unanswered questions, which is how many psychedelics does it take to prepare one to be a parent? Is it one? Is it two? Is it a gap year in Joshua Tree? Scientists refuse to comment, so obviously here we are.
Yes, some people prepare for parenthood before and during by reading books, some go to a seminar, some people stare into the abyss under the influence of substances. Legal, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Anyway, we're going to talk about our experiences on using plant medicine before, during, after.
Not during. Well,
kind of.
sometimes.
Yes. And what's the right amount? Because kind of punchline is there can be too much as well.
Yes, we have seen those parents and those kids.
Yes. So today we're going to talk about psychedelics, everything you need to know about psychedelics and parenting together. But I'm Taro.
I'm Cora.
And we both have a lot of experiences of using psychedelics. I love medicinally, spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the right term here?
Yes.
Yes.
Intentionally.
Yes. I guess you've also used it recreationally, no?
A couple times at Coachella. Doesn't count.
Yeah. We want to talk about, should you take psychedelics? Obviously, it's an individual question, but we're going to share our experiences before to know if you want to be a parent or what kind of parent you want to be. And then maybe while you're a parent, how to integrate better by maybe the use of plant medicine. So let's start with before having kids. Should you take psychedelics before having kids?
100%.
Why?
Well, I think nothing prepares you for the crazy wild ride of parenting and birth, might I add. This is not something you can comment on, but I think you definitely need to take psychedelics before you give birth. But for parenting, you know, there's such a thing where you can't control, you can't plan. Kids are like kind of chaotic, so you just have to be okay letting loose, letting go, and giving up control and surrendering to the madness. And psychedelics are really, really good for that. They keep you from clinging too hard to things. They keep you from being inflexible. And they give a bit of joy and wonder and magic that children have.
Yes. My experience is around parenthood. I went to Netherlands. I was an advisor to the world's first legal psilocybin center, and I partook it myself, again, legally. And I took a very high dose of psilocybin mushroom, which would equal to about 15 grams. And if you know,
that's insane. That's so insane.
So normal dose is about 1 gram, and there's a thing called heroic dose, which is 5 grams. So I took 3 times the heroic dose. But my dad had just had cancer.
No, heroic dose is 7 grams, isn't it?
Terence McKenna would say 5. But
okay.
Depends on the species, by the way. This is where I think a lot of people get wrong. Okay. But my dad had just had cancer, and I was wondering, like, what kind of I knew I wanted to have kids, but what kind of dad I wanted to be. I had realized he never said he loved me, even though I think he did. But for Finnish men, it's hard to say things like that out loud. And I went in consciously really wanting to explore that topic. What I learned was very different than what I thought I would learn. But my setting was that I knew I wanted to have kids, but I had not met Cora, and I didn't have a partner, but I kind of wanted to explore like what kind of a man I wanted to be and how does kids fit into that masculinity, so to say. And it was very eye-opening. And I would say for me, the big thing about psychedelics, even if it's just one large dose, which I wouldn't generally recommend, is like not using it constantly, but like at least once take more. You don't have to take 15 grams or even 5 grams, but one higher dose to kind of explore what it feels to you. And I think you hit the main point is like, we get attached to these stories in our head a lot about like money and career and life and who we are and what we want to do. And I think psychedelics tend to strip away a lot of that BS for a lot of people and connect with some sort of a universal love, which I think kids are naturally kind of tapped into. And I think having that experience will prepare you to be a better parent. And by the way, maybe you realize you don't want to have kids too. Maybe that's your lived experience, but that was my experience going to Netherlands and taking a lot of mushrooms and realizing what kind of man I wanted to be and how kids fall into that.
Yeah, and imagine you take them and you realize you don't want to be a parent. That's really useful information.
Yes. There are also people who've done it and found out that their current partner is not the partner too, so which is a big revelation too, maybe. But again, I think it's hard to lie to yourself. I'm mostly referring to experiences with psilocybin, but I would say it's true for others as well. Is like it's hard to lie to yourself, so like being more honest with yourself without those limitations of the conscious mind default mode network, I think is huge. Plus the feeling of love in general. Can you take too much psychedelics before having kids?
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say definitely yes.
Yeah.
Why do you say probably?
Well, I was thinking of certain people we know that their style of parenting is so loosey-goosey. They have like lost touch with reality and time and space. And unfortunately, our world lives in time and space. And so they're just like, whatever they want to do and be, and like allow them to do this and that, and they're raising me. And it's like, no, they're not. You are their parent. And also, like, there's some people who do so much that then it kind of creates anxiety with their children because they don't have clear boundaries as a parent. Maybe they have like a bunch of sexual partners, or they live in an interesting polyamorous relationship, and the kid is used to seeing way too much, like not enough boundaries and control, I would say. So I think it's a Goldilocks spot of psychedelics.
Yeah. Obviously, there's a mental health aspect. Some people have negative mental health outcomes with psychedelics. I think way more people have positive ones, but just framing the somewhat obvious.
Are there certain people who should probably not do psychedelics?
Well, at this legal psilocybin center and the research I know from people who are doing academic research on it, there's a lot of like pharmaceuticals, SSRIs and stuff that you shouldn't combine for sure. And you probably, yeah.
So SSRIs are people who have depression. So it's maybe not the best for, especially people with bipolar depression, schizophrenia. I think you can do it if you have depression. I think it's really good for depression, but you shouldn't be on current SSRIs.
Yeah, there's a screening tool they use. These are professionals, not me.
I went to this same place you speak of. There's like a 20-page paperwork, and I was so surprised that I passed because I was on antidepressants, I was on Xanax, I was on so many different things. I still got through, luckily.
Well, you've taken them before too. I don't know if that.
Yes, and I checked every box for every psychedelic that's been taken.
Yeah, but what I would say, one of the reasons why you can take too much before kids is, you mentioned one, there is a world where you get a little detached from this physical matrix reality and into a way that like you don't realize that kids need routine and protection and safety and boundaries, and particularly between the ages of 0 and 6, according to Mario Montessori and a bunch of other people. And for example, I've witnessed some people we know whose children have witnessed like, I mean, this is a very extreme case, but like orgies at a young age. And I don't think that's that safe for children's mental psyche. And I think it shows. But the other thing is sometimes people who take a lot of plant medicine gravitate towards other people who've taken a lot of plant medicine. And I do think good relationships have a yin and yang, good cop, bad cop, different kinds of flows. And I think everyone benefits from that like slight tension as long as there's value alignment. Obviously, if the other partner is completely hardcore against them, that might cause friction. But like, I think there's good to have balance. And I think some people have taken a lot, then only partner with folks who've taken a lot. And I think that can cause issues too.
It's totally fine to take a lot, but maybe don't then have kids. Just like it's fine to be in like a cult, but it'd be really rough to impose that on a kid.
Yes, and I would say the biggest reason why be careful is if you take them too often, not so much like if you take a lot over a 20-year period, but a lot during a year period or 2-year period, and you live in this like alternate universe, which might be more accurate and intuitive, but like it might be hard to integrate. So like maybe it's more than like taking a lot of psychedelics, but having enough space to integrate in between those sessions is kind of big. So that's before having kids.
Should I talk about my experience with 4 kids, why I wanted to do them?
Yes.
So I decided to take them before kids because I really wanted to try to stop some generational behavior and addictions and thought processes and perspectives that I didn't want to pass on to my children. So I took it very seriously as, you know, this is going to be my year of learning and debunking and getting rid of all of these things. Not that I'm like perfect now, but I had a lot of addiction and things like that. And I think it helped so much to stop that pattern and thought process. So I'm not like, unbeknownst to me, passing it to my children.
That's a good point. I think we all have generational things that are either positive or negative. Be at least aware of them. Okay, so now you have kids. Should you use psychedelics while you're being a parent, or is that irresponsible?
I don't think while you're currently parenting, but I think without your children somewhere, yes, you should. And I think it's almost mandatory.
Why?
Because, you know, the nature of being a parent, being needed constantly, especially for a mom. I have 3 young boys who are obsessed with me, luckily, but I don't want to be snapping at them. I don't want my patients to be, patients gets tested, and it feels like I need to almost clear some cobwebs from my brain and come back more enthused and like shake it off in a way that's pretty hard without substances.
My experience is the opposite of before kids. Before kids take a high dose once, maybe twice. Not so pro microdosing or smaller dosing. But I think once you have kids, it's good to have reminders of like the universal love and like seeing the eye like a child, which can be challenging for many parents. Is like you get trapped in these like stories and habits and patterns and not experiencing them at the moment. So I would say we do this annual thing, kind of more intensive, but like having maybe quarterly, slightly smaller experiences that are not as extreme and not as labor intensive to integrate, but like remind you, they're kind of reminders.
Yeah, I'll do them and I'll just be laying in tears, just like so happy about my life and so grateful for everything. And I think sometimes you forget that this is the life that you hoped and wished for when you're in it. And it gives you this really great perspective to come back to. It's such a good reset.
Yeah, I think you see the world more like a child. You love the kids more, and a lot of the BS that doesn't really matter kind of melts away. Like, you know, the tiffs and fights. Because at the end of the day, you know, like that like mental game of like, hey, once your kids are adults, didn't you send me that? The lady was talking about it recently. But like, imagine like your kids being adults and then somebody who you don't know who they're with asks them like, hey, how was your childhood? And they're going to say in like less than 1 minute, explain what their childhood is without ever meeting you. What is their story? And like, another thing I had a coach who said is like, hey, if you like force your kids to do stuff they don't like when you're a child and you get your wish to get to the dentist on time, but that leads to them resenting you and not inviting you to their wedding or something, would you be happy with that? Obviously the answer is no, but in the moment you're like, hey, we got to get to the dentist.
Yeah, the struggles, the power struggles.
Power struggles is like, I think psychedelics can help with that. Now, that's not to say that there's in other ways. I think I've made videos on this, but there's meditation, journaling, yoga, breath work, cold plunging, exercise, other ways.
And we do all of that as well.
100%. And we do those way more. It's almost like when people work out and they show like the really tough workout, like the sprints or the heavy lifting, but like 80-90% of the training is like low level zone 2.
It does feel like training. It really does.
So yeah, most of the exercises like breath work or working out are the zone 2, and then the psychedelics are the extreme competitions once or a few times a year. By the way, and for people who are anti-psychedelics, a lot of people self-medicate with alcohol.
Right.
Or even caffeine. Like high amounts of caffeine to operate. Those are also lower level mind altering things. Increasingly, people do various vaping,
Yeah.
weed, even kava and kratom, which I think are great in small amounts too. So
Yeah, I know some people are very anti psychedelics, and I think it's from the 60s, but I think that the tide is coming back. And yeah, I think it's very helpful if you have addiction, depression, some like family trauma stuff. It's kind of the only way.
yeah, and then one thing is, I kind of think you can be on psychedelics with your children if your partner is not on and you're not at the peak experience. I think it can be a little scary for kids if they would see you in like the full peak trip moment. But
Yes.
in the calm down, when you're all like more centered and grounded, it can actually be beautiful to like be
Yeah.
and cuddle with your kids.
Or microdosing, even though I know you don't like that. But
Yeah.
kids have naturally high amounts of DMT in their body, so they're kind of tripping with you.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Anyway, this is our experience. As a summary, I would say you definitely should take psychedelics before having kids at least once on a high dose. And then they're very, very helpful after you have kids, almost more helpful after you've had kids, but it may be on not like a smaller, more regular basis. That would be my summary.
Sure.
And then there is amount of taking too much. And without going to the more extreme examples we mentioned, I would say I would still be careful about addiction and escapism. Like if you're an unhappy person and you're like using those substances to fill a void, that's always bad. Versus if you have an unanswered question or you feel lost, I think then they're helpful. And there's a big difference between feeling lost or unsure and having a void that you need to deal with. Not to say that those couldn't be combined with talk therapy and psychedelics under like professional supervision, but those are two different things. And I think there's a lot of self-medication happening in the plant medicine that's not any different of getting hammered on a Friday night. So just
Very
be
true.
careful with that.
Yeah. Fly safely.
Yeah.
Oh, well, everyone wanted to know what does it mean? Are you a fish or a bird?
I already explained it.
No, you
I
didn't.
don't need to explain it
No, you
twice.
did not.
Next one is
Everyone was still
whoever
confused.
has happiness must hide it. And this is a very big Finnish lesson. But if you have happiness, you hide it. It's like God. Like if you found God, there's no need a point of talking about God to every stranger you meet. You found it. It's a personal relationship.
That feels
Happy.
very zen.
Yeah.
The
It's also a
Zen monk.
little negative Nelly because if you're happy, you're not supposed to smile. But
Yeah, like don't be so cheery around all us bummed out Finns.
But in Finland, it is very much like a tall puppy syndrome too. It's like if you've had success in life or you found happiness or whatever good thing happened to you, you got to keep quiet about it because if you talk about it or show it, you're going to lose
Yeah.
it. If you like the content, like and subscribe for more weird parenting stuff like this, us rambling about our experiences about psychedelics or other things. This show is brought to you by a legal mushroom company for Sigmatic. I'm biased. I founded it 15 plus years ago, but they make, totally legal and totally safe mushroom products like lion's mane chaga, turkey tail, cordyceps reishi that help you be a better parent, less stress, better immunity, don't get sick, less brain fog. But product that we've been using a lot are the creamers. There's 4 kinds. There's a vanilla, chocolate, hazelnut, and sweet and creamy. They're all dairy-free, coconut-based, very little sugar, if any. And what's great about them is that they use real natural flavors, like real vanilla, real cacao. So it's not fake and artificial, but it gives you the MCTs and it has the lion's mane mushroom and vitamin B12 for cognitive function. So it's a great thing to add to your daily cup of coffee. And if you want to try it, there's a link for Fungi Fams listeners that gives you a special deal. A free coffee, just pay shipping and handling.
Wow.
Wow. Anyway, thanks and toodaloo.
Toodles.